All right, simple question. Who here has ever seen an OxyClean or Flex Seal commercial? Raise your hands. What is captivating about that commercial? Give me some hands.
Demonstration product.
Demonstration of product. Your eyes are glued to the viewer. Like, you cannot get your eyes off of them. You know, so much stuff is going on in the background, like you see in Old Spice, you know, but you're so captivated on it. Suddenly he has his shirt off. I'm not gonna take my shirt off tonight, even though I am Old Spice, but yeah. This presentation, we're gonna show you how to capture the audience's attention and keep it glued on you the entire presentation. I'm Joe Palmer, your host for tonight, and these are my group mates.
My name is Casey Williams.
Michael Sessions, Abel Garcia, Ahmed Khan.
And you know me, Dylan Palmer. Tonight, Casey will start us off with how to start strong and end strong for your presentation. Then we'll get on to me with the personal grabbers, followed by an activity. Then Ahad will show us some literary grabbers, followed by activity 2. Then Abel will show us creative mediums you can use for your PowerPoints. And Michael will then establish credibility, and then we'll get on to Q&A. So here's Casey with how to start strong and end strong in your presentation.
Thank you, Dylan. So, grabbing your audience attention plays a huge role in getting the audience to become receptive to you and your message. You need to transform idle people that are just kind of sitting there staring at you into someone who's eager to hear what you have to say. If you're addressing the population through like radio waves or a television commercial, you would assume that your audience is at home, like staring at the TV, completely engaged and listening to your commercial. I'd have to say that's a wrong assumption. More than likely, since they're at home, the TV is on, but they may be doing like, I don't know, chores, looking at their Facebook on their phone, wondering why they're adulting and not a kid anymore. But, you know, more than likely your commercial is background noise, or it could be. So people who are doing TV advertisements are more than likely have this in the back of their mind. They know the reality. So they're going to have a commercial that has vivid imagery or, you know, high upbeat music or rhyming or different types of things they'll utilize to kind of get their viewers to kind of pay attention to them. They're not going to be boring and dull. Do you recognize the terms primacy or recency? Or do these terms mean anything to anybody? No, good. That's why we're here. So primacy, it basically states that, you know, within the first 30 seconds of speaking to somebody, they're going to draw a conclusion about you, kind of like a first impression. And then recency is for like your conclusion. People who are paying attention to you in the first part of your speech are also going to remember you towards the end because of this theory with primacy and recency. I'm nervous. So, according to Dr. Gary Ch9, he's creator of the Ch9 method, he says that audience make value judgments about you and your organization, your message, within the first 30 to 60 seconds of your presentation. Once that first minute is up, you're going to be going on an uphill battle to try to regain that. So if you mess it up in the beginning, good luck. The second role of your introduction is you're setting the tone of your presentation. The audience will use the first minute to evaluate you, your enthusiasm, your credibility, your body language, your interest appeal. So you want to try to be open and you don't appear to be rigid or closed off. If you don't appear interested, then why would your audience be interested in you? When you start strong, you essentially open up a line of communication between you and your listeners. The open line of communication not only engages your audience, but it also helps you kind of towards the end. So when you break for a Q&A or you do an activity where you're involving your audience, they need to be able to trust you, and kind of in the beginning of your presentation is where you want to start building that connection, building that line of communication, so that they will be more inclined to speak up, ask questions, using that connection. You will want to avoid using inappropriate mediums in your open and close, so like poor joke choice, you know, not knowing your audience prior, you can get yourself in trouble. If you say a story in the beginning, that's a great way to start your intro, but what if it has nothing to do with your message? Well, then it won't make any sense, and you'll only like hold your audience attention temporarily, because then they'll be confused. So your intro will provide a transition into your message. Your attention grabber needs to tie into your message, or else people will once again be temporarily engaged. Introduce your message, tell the audience what it is and why they need to hear it. Once you've sufficiently grabbed their attention, your audience will be willing and able to focus on you and your message. My last advice is to run through your intro and your summary smoothly. Don't rush to try to finish it up. You'll cause long-term memory loss. You know, with the recency and primacy, go into it slow, not necessarily slow, it's not a good choice of words, but you don't want to rush through it, and then show your anxiety to your audience. And then the rest of my audience will go over the different techniques to grab your audience's attention.
Thank you, Casey. Now we will move on to personal grabbers. I will be leading you through this. So personal grabbers are the handshake of your presentation. If I were to go around and give you each a handshake, that would take a long time. So instead, I'm gonna do three things. I'm gonna let you know a little bit about me. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about yourselves, what I know about my audience, and we're gonna form a connection through this. So what better way to know me than have a story about how I came to UT Dallas. So I did not know what I was doing. It was the middle of summer, I just got out of JUCO. I knew two things. I wanted to go to a great institution, and I wanted to play baseball. I didn't get the emails I wanted to. My mom kept on persisting me. She was like, "Don't go to UT Dallas. It's up there." And I was like, "You know what, Mom? Fine, I'll do it." I thought UT Dallas was just a small hole-in-the-wall D3 school. I'd never been up here for anything. Emailed the coach. 2 days later, I'm up here taking a tour with them, and I'm blown away by the display, the culture around here, the people. I was taken aback. And right now you see me in here today, you know, finishing up. You know, I've had a great baseball experience, and I'm having a great school experience. That's the one thing I know about Joe. One thing we each share, everybody in this building, is that we made a sacrifice to come here, to UT Dallas. That's the thing we all share. We all live different lives. You know, I'm only 22. We have people in here that are 20, 30, 40, you know, but we all come here together because that is one thing we share. And through the things we share, we start to build a connection. I start to build a connection towards my audience. And so with that, I bring you the three strong words. There is I, there is you, and we. I was about me. What you want to do with your eyes is you want to make it captivating for your audience. You don't want some lame thing to go on about yourself. You want to seem interesting and unique when you use eyes in your terms. Now when you're addressing your audience, you use you. Now you gotta show some empathy. If I were to come in here tonight and say, "Y'all suck, y'all can't do anything right," you would be distasted, you would lose attention, and it would not be good, you know? You wanna show empathy for them. And the last thing is we. When you're addressing we, the audience got to know who you're talking about, who the we is. We as a class. That is true. I can say we as a group, it wouldn't mean the same to y'all. We as a class engages both of y'all and me, the presenter. So if you use these words correctly and right, you'll have an effective presentation. And that leads me on to my activity. Honestly, y'all sitting by each other, look to the person to your left and right. Do you honestly know anything about them? Maybe a little, maybe that they all came to UT Dallas. But besides that, y'all don't really know each other. Y'all are perfect strangers, really. And probably this is the only time you're gonna see them, is during this class. So what we want you to do is to get into groups of 3 and 4. And we want you to first explain your story, how you came to UT Dallas. It's what you both shared. Then we want you to recognize something about your partners and tell them, you know, just visual, really. And then the third thing I want you to do is converse what you all have in common, what you learn about each other. This is a class about engagement. What we want to do is build connections. So quickly get in your groups and start on your assignment. Let us know if you have any questions. Everything going good?
I'm sorry, mine was the peer review for them. It was just me who did them. Yeah, just me. And so that was for her specifically. She had specific sides. And that's what I for the previous slides. And I suggested that it would change. But they had it on almost all the sides as well. So they had to change those ones, but sometimes I wanted to keep it more like, and they suggested us to make my own. So we added more content. And we added 13 more
Okay, class. I'm pretty sure you all have some pretty interesting stories. Would anybody like to share theirs?
We all have siblings. We all came to UTD for like family, right?
Yeah.
And financial. And what was your other question?
A story about, how you came to UTD and one thing you noticed about each of your group mates and then what you all share.
That really was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I originally started my education here in 2010, but after not knowing what I wanted, I got myself kicked out. But I would find my way back by working 2 jobs and almost finishing my finance and economics degree.
That's very good. Yes, sir.
We're all seniors. We all are transfer students. I know Westcott, he transferred from Texas Tech. He got engaged when he got transferred. Barnes, he recently got engaged. Mr. Mo, he transferred from Brookhaven and some other stuff. But I was learning he gives his personal life because it's a personal story. Mr. John, he had an ex from Texas Tech, and long story. It's a long personal story, so we share a lot of things in common.
Well, thank you for participating in the activity. I hope y'all learned something about each other. Hope y'all are now more comfortable with talking and presenting around each other. It ought to be like your best friend is presenting or something. You ought to be drawn to them. Now, with that, we go into our next subject: literary grabbers with Hod.
Literary grabbers are usually used in formal presentations, and they may be used in everyday scripts as well. There are many kinds of literary grabbers that you may find helpful, like anecdotes. Telling a story taps into the emotions of the audience and allows them to relate to your message. Proverbs can also be a great opening to grab attention, like keep the dream alive, hit the snooze button. That leads to humor, which should be used with care. Statistics creates a connection with audience, making you more trustworthy. When I was interning with Cognizant, one of my job responsibilities was to overshadow technology leaders while they were presenting. And they would use statistics to provoke a reaction, grabbing stakeholders' attention. And quotations can be used effectively in formal and everyday remarks. Quotations boost your credibility and reinforces your ideas. It's like a second voice echoing your claim. Short videos are also powerful grabbers, but making sure the video is short and relevant. Research grabs attention by telling them what they have never heard, like shocking research. Let me ask you, how many of you guys eat ice cream or like ice cream? Yeah. We consume about like the weight of Eiffel Tower every day, Americans. And poetic openings inspire and motivates people. And writing your own poetry creates like a unique connection between you and the audience. And here are some advice to use your literary grabbers. Speak loud. You want to make sure that the audience can hear you. Show credibility. Automatically makes you more trustworthy. Positive body language keeps audience engaged and also shows you want to present. Don't introduce your introduction. You want to be creative by using one of the attention grabbers. Don't forget your audience. You want to know who you are talking to so that you can use literary grabbers appropriately. Don't be boring. You don't want to sound like everyone or monotone. You want to engage audience using different mediums. And now I'm going to have a short video with different examples.
I'm honored to be with you today for commencement from one of the finest universities in the world.
truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. 221 years ago, in a hall that still stands across the street, a group of men gathered and with these simple words launched America's improbable experiment in democracy. Farmers and scholars, statesmen and patriots who had traveled across the ocean to escape tyranny and...
I can't thank you guys for the opportunity. Let me tell you something. If tomorrow wasn't promised, what would you give for today? Forget everything else. Forget everything else. Forget that there was any sunlight left. What would you spend today thinking about? Yourself or the man that's beside you?
Okay, now Abel is going to go over the creative mediums.
How do you follow people like that? All right, so how's everybody doing? Good? Awesome. So the topic that I'm going to be discussing today is a concept or tool known as creative mediums. Now, does anybody happen to know what creative mediums are? Probably not, right? I haven't discussed them. It's a simple concept, really, but a very effective one. So the question that I just asked you, that is an example of a creative medium. Now, these various tools that you can, these mediums are various tools that you can use throughout your presentation to help build emphasis on certain points, or just keep the presentation more interesting. It can also help make sure that your presentation is going to be more memorable to your audience. Another thing is it can apply credibility to your presentation, and there's various examples that you can use. For instance, this PowerPoint presentation is a visual. That is an example of a medium. Probably one of the most effective ones out there. Again, the question that I asked earlier, another example. Performing a skit like we're about to do for you. No, not really, but humor, just simply telling a joke. That's simple but yet very effective. Recently, Harvard did a study about just the different types of mediums and the effectiveness that they had on their audience. And if you look at the presentation, you can see, I don't know if everybody can see, but it starts with the control group, which is basically a baseline group that they use to measure the rest of the study. But if you look at the oral, that's just simply applying a verbal medium to a speech. And you can see the actual increase in effectiveness. And then you move on to the PowerPoint presentation, which is a visual, another increase, and then so forth. You have the Prezi, which is just another form of a visual, but you can actually just, see the incline. Because it's not just about the message, it's how you also deliver it. So just by simply applying mediums throughout your presentation, you're able to not only capture your audience, but also able to keep them engaged, keep them interested. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your audience remembers you and remembers the things that you say. So I'm going to pass it off to Michael, but before I do, I actually have one for you. Knock, knock.
Was there
Tank?
Thank you.
No, thank you guys.
All right, guys, I'm going to be going over credibility. So credibility is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. For any number of reasons, consciously and unconsciously, people decide whether and how much they trust you. They often make snap judgments based on first impressions, while they then seek to confirm or to revise after further experience during your presentation. You may have credibility, but if you don't know how to show it, then your audience will never know. So I'm going to go over the 4 main things for credibility that you want to do during your presentation. Use evidence that your audience finds credible. So you want to use facts and figures, respected authorities, charts and graphs, other things of that sort, their visual aids, personal testimonials, and all of these convey differing degrees of credibility to different audiences. This evidence is conclusive to certain audience, and you don't want to use some visual aids that are dubious to other audience that they won't understand if you use certain jargon like networking capital or NWC, NOPAT. Most of you don't know that unless you're in finance. So one thing that you want to do is reveal your qualifications. Let your audience know about your background and qualifications to demonstrate your leadership on the topic you're speaking about. Oftentimes, your signature story will establish your competence. While crafting openers and different messages to try and incorporate what experience or education you might have, this will make it easier for you and more capable to talk about your subject at hand. The third thing is know how your audience will perceive you. As a presenter, you need to know where you stand on the hierarchy and how much credibility that relates to. If you're a student presenting to higher officials, you won't have that much credibility, and it's implied that it's very low. But if you're a CEO presenting to employees, your implied credibility is very high since you're the CEO, and people assume that you know what you're talking about, even if you might not. So use this information to properly judge how the audience will receive you when presenting on certain subjects. And the fourth thing, if I can move my head, is self-presentation and how you present yourself. This is the aspect that all of us are actively trying to improve on through this class. Energy levels and confidence are very important to this aspect, so consider your credibility whenever presenting and how to improve its perception in the eyes of the audience. And now we're going to go on some things that you want to do to improve your credibility. So you want to speak very loud and clear. This will give the audience the impression that you know what you're talking about, even if you may not. And then you want to respect the audience's intelligence. So you don't want to dumb down certain terms if they already know about it, and you don't want to use jargon or other terms that might not apply to them. And then you want to show your expertise by talking about personal experiences that will apply to either the audience or the certain topic you're talking about. And then some things that you don't want to do is use slang or cursing or political terms and that might be offensive to the audience you're talking to. It comes off as very unprofessional, and most audiences won't take kindly to it. Then one thing is you don't want to state opinions as facts, since some opinions are wrong and some of your audience won't agree with it. And then using cliches, that's one thing you want to avoid. Most cliches aren't taken well in audiences. It can work in humor and other sorts, but in professional presentations, it's not taken kindly. So I'm going to pass it back to Dylan for a wrap-up.
Grabbing the audience's attention is one of the most important things of your presentation. You can be giving out the most important information of a class's left on, but if no one pays attention to you, nobody's going to hear the message, and your project's going to be ineffective, right? If you mess up, but you got the audience's attention, and they can tell you that you mess up, at least you have their attention. That's what's important. You don't have to be Phil Swift, Billy Mays, or something to convey a good presentation. All you need is to, number one, engage the audience, reflect on them, and just end it with a closer. That's what you want. So thank you, and we'll bring on to questions.
Lisa, what was your theme?
Infomercials, or like I'm FlexiClean, or FlexSeal, Progressive, Old Spice, ShamWow, and OxyClean.
And to tie that into like opening with an intro and ending, you know, strong, was kind of what I was saying earlier. You're not gonna watch a cereal commercial where it's a really boring box and they're just literally like, you know, they're gonna make it like magical and probably make some animal fly out of it or something crazy. And they do that in infomercials and marketing advertising all the time. And so that's kind of how we related it to the introduction of your speech or presentation, is you want to give a wow factor to get people to just concentrate on you.
And then for credibility, I did FlexSeal because he shows his credibility by like stabbing buckets and that, and making the credibleness of the product by like spraying it and showing how well it works.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You guys obviously used a lot of research in your presentation. I think I heard it come up like maybe 3 or 4 times. What was your process of selecting those sources?
Well, me personally, I used what we were given on Blackboard. And then I kind of just like kept clicking links, and Dr. Gerard, he has several different articles about speaking and public speaking, and you could just literally click on links all day long and find a million different things. So that's kind of what I was doing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you, that was a